What is it you need to do to get your website started for sale on Flippa? So this is the flippa.com/sell. The sell button's over here, and I've scrolled down to the page. But I'll start at the top. You want to be selling an established website. You've got a lot better chance for great sales. And the buyers on Flippa are generally looking for established websites. However, you can sell starter websites, domains, and especially you can sell apps. And I have never sold an app before, but I would guess there's some good opportunities to sell the right kind of app on Flippa. But this is mainly for websites, and mainly ones that are established, older than 3 months, that have some traffic and or revenue. So you hit the established sites, you scroll down, and I recommend hitting an auction. An auction encourages the scarcity and limited availability in terms of timing for your website. If you don't get it sold on a first auction, it's not a big deal. You just try again. I tried to put bandwork up once, put it up too high, and it didn't sell. The second time I put it up, it sold, and you can see what it sold for. So you can also do classified listings, or if you have a website you think is really valuable, and mine got rejected from this, if you think it's really valuable, try the deal flow to get it to the high-end buyers. And then you go down here and type your URL in to get started. So I have a website, gamingaddiction.net. It was my first website. And I tried to put it up before, and I didn't do a very good job selling it, and it didn't sell. So if I wanted to list this again, I'd put the URL in, and then I click Get Started. So now you can see everything you need to do in order to get the website sold here. You need to go through the website details, including what kind of website it is and when it went live. You need to go through in traffic, and like I said, this is the only thing that really matters in terms of doing something quick and simple to get your website up into the 80-20 principle application, where you're in the top 20% of websites for sale. Now, you definitely want to verify Google Analytics, and that's why Flippa makes it so obvious, and I'll do a much more deep lecture on this shortly. So what you do is you just hit this, and then it will ask for Google sign-in information to your analytics account. It's really easy. And if you want to do your own traffic, which obviously I don't recommend, you put your average amount of unique viewers and page views per month. But why do that when you could put Google Analytics in and establish trust on your website? 80% of websites don't verify Google Analytics, and those are the 80% of websites that don't sell very well. The next thing you need to go down and do is revenue. And you always want to put in some kind of revenue. After all, if your website's not making any money unless it's Instagram, why would you want to sell it? Most of the time, you want to put in revenue in order to get a better group of buyers. Now, if you don't have any revenue, you don't put any in, obviously. But more than likely, you're trying to sell a website that's at least making a little bit of money with one of these various methods. But if you don't want or don't have any revenue, just put no. If you don't have revenue, it's absolutely essential that you've got traffic. You need one of these two. And I recommend, even if you have good revenue, you need those verified Google Analytics. So if you have revenue, then Flippa gives you the opportunity to put that in detail. So if you have other, you can type in exactly. If you have subscriptions, e-commerce, ad sales, ClickBank, AdSense, dropship, you can just put all those in directly. AdSense is the best one in terms of Flippa being able to easily verify the revenue. So AdSense provides a great opportunity to have concrete proof that you're actually making money on Flippa. Any of these other methods can also work very good. Now, the seller's notes is in the pitch, and the pitch is critical to converting sales. Now, I showed you in my auction, and I will show you in a later lecture where the seller's notes are. So this is the description. So the description, you should be putting a lot of good work into the description. I've got a specific lecture explaining how you should do the description. So here's the description. But before you get to the description, you need a tagline and a summary. So on mine, you can see that's up there at the top. The tagline's up here. That's the title of the website as seen in the auction. So you put your tagline and then your summary in here in order to get people to know what your website does. And notice these are very short. A total of 271 characters between the two of them. And I recommend putting the most important thing first. So what I put first was my $80,000 a year profit on my website because that's the most important part of it. Now, the important thing to consider in that is what's going to be most important to your buyer. If your buyer is going to be looking for verified traffic, then you might want to put how many unique visits or page views you have. If your buyer's looking for page rank, which they're not often looking for page rank unless it's really high, you could put that first. If your buyer's looking for verified AdSense revenue, you could put something up there like 500 per month AdSense verified and have a listing like that. So you want the very most important word or 3 words in front. And if you're trying to ultimately make a good sale, you want that money in the very beginning. Because if you'll notice in some of the other titles, as I've browsed around Flippa, a lot of the titles don't get into very well what the website value is. They just put the name of the website up. You want in your tagline to have the value up front. So if it's AdSense, you want that verified. If you're making $1,000 a month on selling services, then you put that up front. Whatever your key value of the website is should go first. Because whether people believed my $80,000 a year profit or not, they still at least took a look at the auction. And that was the exact amount my financials had made in the previous year on bandwork.com. Now, that doesn't always translate exactly into what the buyer will make out of it, because a big part of my profit on bandwork.com was getting repeat business that was done straight through me through the bandwork.com emails. So I'll show you how I attracted buyers and explained to the existing customers I would be moving websites. But still, the fact is, I made $80,000 profit off of bandwork.com in the last year before selling the website. So I put that up front. So it's better to stick on your tagline with facts, whatever facts you can support. And the crucial part about that is timing. If you have had 3 bad months in a row, you probably don't want to sell your website. I tried to sell Bandwork before in a similar situation. It didn't sell. I waited until Bandwork had several good months in a row, then I sold it. So you got your tagline right here, and then your summaries where you explain a little bit more about your tagline, and then your description has a lot longer chance you can really go in and convert. And I recommend the nice little 3-paragraph format I did that I will explain to you more in a future lecture on. So once you go down here, then you click on sale. And Flippa recommends a sale length of around 14 days, but they can also recommend higher or lower based on your exact auction and your exact website. So for the reserve, you put your reserve in here, and I recommend using a lower reserve price whenever possible. The real bidding often happens once you've hit the reserve price. I have an entire lecture on pricing. And then you scroll down to the payment method you'll accept, and you have PayPal, Flippa Escrow, and escrow.com. And I used escrow.com, and I would prefer to use Flippa Escrow for the future because Flippa Escrow is free. But escrow.com worked really well for me. I put the website up and transferred it to the buyer after escrow verified that the buyer actually had paid them. Then the buyer took possession of it, verified the sale, and I got my wire transfer pretty quick. You can also use PayPal, but I do not recommend PayPal for a Flippa auction because if you have to transfer the website, the buyer can still file a item not received through PayPal, and they've got a pretty good chance of keeping it there. So I recommend Flippa or escrow.com, especially if you've sold for more than $1,000. And escrow.com is fairly easy to set up. Step 6 is a promotion. And you can choose whatever you want in here, but I use the highest one. I used the best they gave me right here. And I think they actually put it up to more people if you have a higher auction and they charge more. But I recommend choosing all of the options on here if you're trying to make more than $1,000. After all, this is a simple return on investment thing. You want to get the Flippa account to tweet your website, and you want to invest something in your auction. So you get the homepage feature, you get the screenshots, bold listing. I did all that on my auction and it sold. The idea is you've got to get as many buyers as possible on it. If you're not willing to do this, you might want to ask yourself, why am I going to list my website in the first place? And if you're trying to sell your website for $1,000 plus, if you're not willing to risk $99 on it, well, maybe it's not ready to sell. Maybe you're not that confident in it yet. And that's okay. The price to list an auction is $19, but I recommend to go for the full upgrade. Finally, you need to verify ownership. Before Flip is going to let you say that you own a website, you need to verify and tell them you actually own it. So there's two ways you can do that. You can use a verification file and or a meta tag. So you go through here and follow Flippa's instructions and put that on your website. If you have a WordPress website or a Google Sites website, doing either of these are pretty easy to do. And if you have HostGator with WordPress, it should work to verify it nearly immediately, and same thing on Google Sites. So this is an overview of everything you need to do generally, with some of my tips on how to complete it in order to actually launch your website for sale. I appreciate the time you spent watching this, and I hope going over the entire selling process here has helped you feel more confident that you can actually go through and do this and get it done. It's not that scary when you look at the whole process. What I'm going to do now is dive in deeper to several areas of this, including the pricing, including the traffic, including the pitch, and I will help you, give you the best formula to get your website sold for the highest value.